Today is the first day of the rest of your life, and your future planning started yesterday. You need simple, easy strategies to create maximum results. This is The Scotty Show. Time to get your ducks in a row with Scott Leonardi, owner and president of Complete Solutions, Inc. As a certified financial fiduciary with 25 years in the planning industry, Scott helps educate you on how you can make the best decisions for your family and your finances, and helps you get your ducks in a row for your incredible future. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome to The Scotty Show with Scott Leonardi. I am excited. Before I bring Scott on, I've got to tell you, audience, we're talking about giving away money. Right, Scott?
Woohoo, giving away some money.
I'm not sure who we're giving it away to. I'm hoping it's me.
Hoping it's you, yeah. Well, it's exciting. We're recording this in April, right? Not too far after Tax Day, right? The 18th. Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny about Tax Day. You know, a lot of people that work, have a job. They're excited about Tax Day, right? Because they want to file their taxes. And they do it before the last day of, the 18th, I think, was the last day to file, right? So they do it right after January, because they want their money. They got a refund coming. Yeah. But us independent business owners, we don't like Tax Day, because guess what? We typically owe money, right? Yep. We ain't getting no refund. If we don't owe money, we're not getting no refunds back anyways, right? So we wait to the last minute to file that return. So
quite true.
But quite true. So. But yeah, I was thinking as I was talking to one of my clients a couple weeks ago, and about gifting money onto their children, and we were just talking about concepts and topics and that kind of stuff. And I thought, you know what, that this makes sense for us to do this in a podcast, because there's some things we got to be thinking about, with that process, right? Yes. I mean, sooner or later, the Lord's coming and taking us, right? And as far as I know, you can't take that money with you. Well, I guess maybe you could take the money with you, put it in the take it with you, but you can't spend it, right? So it's going someplace. When you leave this earth, it's going someplace. And quite oftentimes people just don't think about this. I got some clients that live their life. It's very important to them to leave an inheritance, a legacy onto their children. And other people say, I don't care about those kids. I want to spend every nickel while I'm alive, right? And then leave the kids with nothing. And I get that too. Matter of fact, I tell my kids, Eric, I said, listen, I'm going to spend every nickel I got in my lifetime, enjoy, have a wonderful retirement if I ever retire, right? I'm going to spend every nickel. And as a matter of fact, my dream is that I write a check to the last guy with the last dollar I got, and that guy I don't like, and that check's bouncing. But here's the thought process. Whether you really think you want to leave a gift and leave in a legacy or you don't, again, sooner or later, it's going to end up going on to somebody. Mm-hmm. So we just have to prepare and make sure it's going to where it's going, right? Yeah. So one of the things I recommend to people that everybody needs to do, if you haven't done this recently, is you go in and look at all your accounts and policies and make sure you have proper beneficiaries. I can't tell you how many times where I run across a case and we're looking up some stuff. We're looking at people's life insurance or what have you, and we check the beneficiary, and it's their uncle or their brother, because they weren't married when they first took the policy out, and and sometimes those beneficiaries are dead or what have you. Yeah. So it becomes a bit of a problem. We want to make sure those beneficiaries are current. We're trying to avoid unintended beneficiaries, right? Mm-hmm. That money ends up goes somewhere that you don't necessarily want it to go. Yeah, kind of an important situation.
Absolutely.
Matter of fact, another quick little story, right? Not too long ago, about 8-9 months ago, we had a client that we were talking to about. We always try to make this a priority. Check all your beneficiaries, make sure they're right. But he had an account. It was about $160,000, and it was a life insurance policy. And he had never changed the beneficiary. Well, that $160,000, when he passed away, went to his wife. However, there was an EX in front of that.
Ouch.
Went to his ex-wife, and he was remarried. So that caused one heck of a scuttlebutt in that household, right? I bet. So I always tell people, double check those beneficiaries and make sure they're done properly, right?
Yeah. Wow.
And it's just an important situation. Now, of course, the beneficiaries are going to give those people the money right away. The other issue is, and sometimes when people pass away, they start analyzing, okay, well, what kind of assets am I going to have? What am I leaving on, to my family? And sometimes people think to themselves, well, I don't have much. I mean, younger people tell me, well, I don't have much. I'll take care of those estate planning documents later. And I said, well, think about this for a minute. Even if you have group coverage at work, maybe you got $100,000, $200,000, $250,000 worth of life insurance. Even if you have $10,000, $12,000, $15,000, and that's all in the bank, when you die, how much are your kids getting? Mm-hmm. $200,000-$300,000. So that life insurance creates those instant estates. So even people who necessarily think they don't have a lot of money, they still need to be sure they've got proper, beneficiaries set up. So it goes to where you want it to go, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
My thought process is let's enhance what's going on to the beneficiaries, because again, no matter how you slice it, we want to make sure more money goes to our beneficiaries and less money goes to the government. Right? So we want to keep it out of the court system, keep it out of that probate system. We want to try to reduce the taxes as best as we possibly can, because again, if we do have money left over when we pass away, again, we want it to go into the family or the kids or the grandkids or wherever, less going to the government. I think people can all kind of agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense. Other considerations to think about as well. Again, if I have a large estate, $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 or more, who's this money going to? You're figuring out, you're looking at your children, and unfortunately I have 5 children, but most time people have, you got 2 or 3 that are pretty good, a couple are not so good, and one that's just not so crazy, right? I mean, spendthrift, crazy, that kind of stuff. So you got to be thinking that thought process through too, right? I mean, you spent your whole entire life to build up this estate, to build up what you have, and you pass away. Now that money's flowing, huge amounts of money is flowing to one of your children, one of your beneficiaries, right?
Yeah.
And what often happens when people get a large sum of money they did not earn themselves?
You're asking me that question?
I'm asking you that question. What happens when people get a large sum of money that they didn't put blood, sweat, and tears into it to get it themselves? And what typically happens to that money?
Well, the philosophical side of that is they don't respect the money. The fast answer is they're going to spend that money.
They're going to spend it. I mean, you look at lottery winnings. I mean, the average person that wins the lottery, what happens? They're broke in 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
3 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, because they got this huge flow of money. They didn't earn it. They don't have no respect for what they did to earn that money, and all of a sudden they just start spending it like crazy. So even if you have a child that's pretty good, you got a couple kids that are pretty, you think they're pretty responsible. Again, what if we influx them 2, 3, 4, 500,000? Would they spend it properly? Would they take care of that money like you took care of your money? So that's kind of some considerations. Now, again, some people say, well, I don't care if they spend it all in 2 days. Okay, who cares? It's their money. Other people don't feel that way. So you just got to determine how do you feel about that concept and what considerations should you be taking as you're, again, passing that money on.
Yeah, and I'm going to give you a perfect example. There was a young man that my wife and I used to work with, and he was from a very, very wealthy family, and he did not respect any of the money because, again, he didn't earn it, and he was just very, very spoiled. And actually, his grandmother had passed, and the grandmother also had money, and left him, it was just a little over $100,000, and he was maybe 22 at the time. And he bought, I don't know what you guys call them down there, but some people call them a go-fast boat or a cigarette boat. You know what that is?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Super long.
Loud and fast.
Loud and fast. And so, you're 22 years old. You want to, and he's up in the Great Lake area. I won't say which state, but in the Great Lakes. And so he bought himself a go-fast boat, $90,000. He spent $90,000 on this boat right off the bat. And what he didn't do is he didn't get insurance, and he sunk it the next day. The next day, he sunk that boat. $90,000 gone.
That's funny, but it's not funny.
Oh,
not
yeah.
funny.
It's ridiculous.
The irresponsibility is just astronomical. And boats, boats always sound great. Now I had a houseboat for a number of years. It sounds great, but you know what boat stands for, don't you?
No.
Yeah, break out another 1,000.
Jeez.
That's what boat stands for.
Yeah. That
Nothing's cheap in a boat. Nothing's cheap in a boat. It's kind of absurd. Love to have them, but man, nothing's cheap. Yeah, so we just got to be thinking about some of this stuff. And again, if you think through it and make a decision is my point. And if you don't care what happens to that money when you pass away, then okay. But if you really say, hey, listen, I've worked very hard for this money my whole entire life, I'd like to at least help preserve this. So maybe some of this helps my kids when they get to retirement time, or maybe some of this translates down into an asset for my grandkids, right? Mm-hmm. So again, there's some thought processes with that. So we all know, if you listen to my podcast before, I get your ducks in a row is the whole concept. So you need to have your basic estate planning documents, and we've done a couple podcasts in the past talking about that. So that helps with, again, getting your assets through probate and getting them down to the kids. Having the proper beneficiaries, again, very, very crucial. Check that. And insurance policies, annuities, life insurance have beneficiaries. Bypass probate, go right down. Also, we just want to check some of our accounts we can set up as POD. or TOD, transfer on death, payable on death. Again, just so it kind of goes kind of where we want it to go, so we kind of avoid those unintended beneficiaries. And of course, the next concept we did talk about, again, we did a podcast on this, is maybe I need to control some of that. So what are some other concepts to control that? Well, one of the perfect concepts is a trust. Maybe we need to look at a trust, because now we can control some of that and say, okay, listen, when I pass away, I want a third of my assets going to my son, initially, and then 5 years later, a third of it, and then 5 years later, another third. So you can kind of control some of that stuff, so he doesn't get that huge influx. Or the other consideration is if you got a spendthrift kid, you got a child who's just not, he's just not financially responsible at all. He's going to blow it all, the cigarette boats, you name it. Well, again, having a trust with a trustee that can say, hey, listen, we're going to divvy out so much of this every year, every month, and then they can kind of control that. And if the trustee thinks that they're spending it on, not so good stuff, well, they can kind of withdraw that. So you can be pretty restrictive with a trust if that is something that kind of makes sense. And the other thing, a lot of times clients will want to pass it on to their grandkids. They kind of want to bypass the kids. Well, again, if your child's 50 and or 45 or whatever, and they got a child that's 13 or 14 or 15, well, guess what? You can't gift it to the kid because he's not old enough to receive the money. And would you want that 17, 18-year-old kid getting the $200,000-300,000? Again, probably not. So again, perfect examples to utilize a trust and get some more information on that. Again, my topic today was just getting you thinking about this concept. I'm not an attorney. We need to see an attorney. We have a couple of attorneys that we utilize. We partnership. Go to our website, duckduckplan.com. You can see some examples of what we're talking about here, and reach out to us. We'll be happy to put you in contact with somebody that can help answer some of those questions, but counsel with somebody. And again, you spent, I always ask people, we're looking at their accounts, and they have $500,000 in their IRA. I say, hey, listen, did you get that IRA last Tuesday? And they look at me like perplexed, right?
Yeah.
No, I know. You spent 40, 50 years of your working life to accumulate that. I mean, that's a substantial life's work, right? So again, when you pass away, how do you want that to flow out? So just having those proper documents is just kind of crucial. Because again, I always tell people when there is money left and it's important to you, we want to max the money to the beneficiaries, right? And try to lessen the money to the state, probate, attorneys, and taxation, which truly makes sense. The other thing to think about too is, maybe possibly even gifting the money out ahead of time. I've got clients that, again, if you're 60 years old and you got $100,000 in the bank, you probably shouldn't be gifting anybody money, right? I mean, you shouldn't be giving away money to your kids. Just stop that, because you need to have enough money for you. The whole focus, when I talk to clients, the whole focus is let's enhance your retirement. The focus is make sure you have a wonderful retirement, a wonderful, great adventure, I call it, right? Make sure you have all the money you need. But then when it's time and the Lord comes and gets you, again, let's maximize it, kind of onto the kids. I mean, that kind of stuff just, kind of just makes sense. But there's some other financial concepts to be able to talk through on that, right? So again, if we want to start gifting some money out, it's kind of nice when you get a little older, you can gift some money out to your kids or your grandkids and see the enjoyment of how that works. Whether you give them cash, right, as a gift, or you put it into another, some other type of product for their future. But let's talk a little bit about gifting money out to begin with, because we've all heard of that concept of gift tax, the gift tax, right? And it's very misunderstood. I mean, people often think they're going to have to pay taxes on their gift tax, right? So what the government did is they come up with what's called an annual exclusion. So each year you can give out so much to anybody, kids, grandkids, brother, neighbor, whatever, and it's gonna fall under that. If it's a low enough, it'll fall under that annual exclusion, right? And every year it goes up a little bit. Last year, 2021, it was $15,000. This year, 2022, it's $16,000. So again, you can cut a check to somebody, under that $16,000 gift limit, and everything's perfectly fine. But do you pay taxes after you give that $16,000 out? Do you pay taxes on that?
No.
So let's see, a lot of times people think, well, I can only give out $16,000 because that's the limit on my gift tax. And if I give out more, I'm going to have to pay taxes on it, right? Because that's why there's an annual exclusion. Well, it's not. That's not the case. See, there's a I think it's $11.7 million lifetime exclusion.
Yeah.
Okay. So the deal is, let's say for an example, you give your brother $50,000 and he needs help. You want to gift him out. You want to help him out. So you give him $50,000. Well, guess what? So you used up that $16,000 annual exception, right? But you gave him $50,000. You used up your $16,000 annual exclusion. So the bad news is you're going to have to file a gift return, right? So anything over that limit, $16,000, you have to file the gift tax return. But the good news is you're probably not going to pay any tax. Why? Well, because you have $11.7 million lifetime exclusion. So that $34,000 in my example goes against your lifetime exclusion. Unless you've even already given out $11.7 million, there's no taxable event. It's not going to be taxable to you, and it's not going to be taxable to the child. But again, a lot of people have that misunderstanding. Well, you got to stay below that, or I'm going to owe a tax.
Yeah.
So again, people need to kind of really understand that, because again, there's a lot of misunderstanding about that. And almost everybody I talk to, thinks they're going to have to pay taxes if they give out more than that annual exclusion.
And just to clarify, you're talking it's per person, not only that you're giving to, but also per person in the relationship of when we're talking about the giver. So like the husband and the wife could each give $16,000 to a child. A specific child. So in total, they're giving $32,000 without it even having to be reported at all, right?
Yeah, you got it. And you can give it to brothers and sisters and their spouse. You give it to their kid. And again, I'm not an accountant. Before you start a gifting strategy, let's talk about that. Let's get the accountant involved and make sure we're following all the rules, because there are some exclusions to that with medical and different things like that. So yeah, you're right. And again, it doesn't have to be a family member. It could be just anybody. So, but I mean, the whole purpose. So people say, well, if there's $11.7 million exclusion, lifetime exclusion, why do I have to file a gift tax return? Well, because the whole purpose of that gift tax return is it keeps track of that lifetime exemption, right? So if you get close to that $11.7 million and you've used it all up, well, again, in the end, there's going to be some potential taxes against your estate. So, the other thing, then we're talking about potential ways to enhance money going on to the kids, too. There's a variety of other concepts out there. So let's just say in your situation, we've done an analysis and we see that you got plenty of money to live your whole entire lifetime. There is money that you aren't going to use. You're not going to eat up all this money. This money is going to be passed on to somebody. Well, now there's some other options to kind of enhance that. Some annuities. Some annuities have an enhanced death benefit, where you get you put the money into it, can potentially earn a decent interest rate, but it also enhances the death benefit, so it maximizes the money to enhance for more to go on to the beneficiaries. So again, why is that important? Again, if you got money that you're just not going to use, it's going to be passed on to the kids anyways. You just don't want to pass it on until you pass away. Well, again, there's some pretty cool ways to enhance that, enhance, of course, that means to increase that number and gift more to the kids, right?
Yeah. So is the annuity part, is that similar to life insurance, where when it is passed as a death benefit, there is no tax on it?
Well, no, the annuity is going to work a little differently.
Okay.
It depends on whether it was qualified money or non-qualified money, and the part that's considered interest. So there's going to be some type of a taxable event, different than life insurance. But life insurance is going to be my next topic, though.
All right.
So again, the key on that annuity again is we can enhance that, giving more money onto the kids, maximizing the death benefit, which obviously is kind of important if it's just sitting in there anyways. I call the concept of leveraging. Right? And usually people that have a big estate, they understand the concept of leveraging, right? So and that's how everybody creates success is leverage, right? You get out of college, how much money you got in the bank?
Not a lot. You get negative numbers.
Negative. No, you can't even afford to pay attention, right? You can't even afford to pay attention, right? Let alone pay the electric bill, right? So you're broke. So what do? You leverage. You leverage your time. You get out there and get a job, work hard. You leverage your time for dollars, and then that's how you start making your money, leveraging that time for dollars. And of course, it hopefully gets to the point soon where you got some extra dollars and you start putting that into an IRA, a 401k, some type of an investment, and now you're leveraging your money to make more money, right? So the beautiful concept is if you're leveraging your time to make money and your money is being leveraged to make money, that's a beautiful concept. That starts creating us and catalyzing us towards that concept of success, right? Building up that asset. So the same thing in this situation. Well, guess what? If a chunk of this money we know is going on to the beneficiaries, we're not going to spend it. And whether even it's going to the children or the grandkids or a charity, something like that, why not leverage that, maximize that to push more on, again, to the beneficiaries. So again, using some annuities with, some enhanced death benefits is a great concept to do that. So that's kind of option number one. And you mentioned a second ago, too, life insurance. I love life insurance. Life insurance can be used for so many different reasons out there, and a lot of times people kind of just are kind of single-minded when they think of life insurance, right? When they think of life insurance, what do they think the purpose of that is?
Money when you die.
Money when you die, right? You pass away, I want to make sure my funeral is taken care of. I want to make sure, my car is paid off, the house is paid off, whatever. Well, you start again. You leverage. You did a good job leveraging. You build up a really nice estate, and you got 5, 6, 7, 800, 1.2 million, whatever you got, right? You think, well, what do I need life insurance anymore for? I die. Mama's got plenty of money. We're giving money to the kids. What do we need life insurance for? Well, again, there's a lot of usages for life insurance. If you listen to my long-term care podcast, we talked about the concept of using life insurance, long-term care insurance, right? Leveraging that to where you've got plenty of money to pay for the care when you need it. But if you don't need it, now we are passing on all the money you put in and usually more than you put into the kids in a life insurance contract.
Yep.
So, again, great concept. Well, here now we're talking about, passing money on to the kids. Some money you pass on to the kids will be, tax-free. It won't be a taxable event. You already paid tax on those dollars. Some money you pass on is going to be taxable, right? Taxable, right? So if you have an IRA, perfect example. You have an IRA, that's called qualified money, right? Qualified. You put money in, pre-tax, right? So you got a tax deduction going in. So when that money starts coming out, when you start using that money, Eric, how much of that is taxable?
That's a great question.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
You start pulling
I thought you were talking about the tax rate. I'm like, I have no idea what the tax rate is.
Oh, yeah.
But 100% of the money is taxable.
Quote me the tax rates, please. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so you pull money out of that IRA, unless it's a Roth, right? But it's a traditional IRA, pulling that money out, 401k, some of that type of concept, the qualified money. What's 100% taxable in most cases, right? 100% taxable. Well, same thing when you pass it on. There was the jobs and tax cut of 2017. Most people kind of remember that because it actually lowered the tax brackets, lowered some of the tax brackets, right? So the jobs and tax cut of 2017 lowered some of the tax brackets, which is wonderful. But one of the things we got to think about is several parts of that actually expire at the end of 2025. So if you're listening to this podcast and it's already 2028, well, congratulations, you're making more money. But more excitingly, thanks for listening to my podcast quite a few years later, right?
That's right.
But if you're listening to this before 2025, the end of 2025, at the end of 2025, some of those things actually expire, which means tax brackets are going to go up at the end of 2025 based on just those expiring. It's reverting back to the 2017 tax brackets, right? Now, of course, unless, again, whatever political party in there actually renews those or changes those or whatever, and, maybe they'll continue to stay lower, maybe they'll adjust, maybe they'll change. But my point is, pretty good chance taxes are going to go up in 2025, unless we get a hero in there, right?
Yeah,
so
I
again,
don't know about
future. I don't know about that. But and really, no matter what side's in, whether it's Republican, Democrat, Independent, all the money we're giving away and stuff, and we're printing money like crazy, giving money away. I mean, I think if you ever want to get really disappointed, you got to go on to what is it, debtclock.com or something like that.
Or something, yeah.
Yeah. It looks at what what kind of debt we have. Last time I looked at it was like $25 or $26 trillion we owe. Just
it's
crazy.
That, I'm pretty sure now. I think it's over 30.
Is it over 30 now? Yeah. I haven't looked in a while.
But yes, I'm.
Wow. Check my word. But just absurd. So again, can they even lower taxes in the future? I don't know. Who knows what the tax bracket's going to be? But my point is, you can't control that, right? I always tell people, people say, "Oh, I can't wait till a Democrat gets in there." Well, okay, great. Or I can't wait till a Republican gets in there. Well, listen, the last time a Democrat was in office, how much did they really help your specific economy in your household? And the same thing with a Republican. And great, we get a Republican in there. How much did they specifically help you personally in your household? Right? Yeah, maybe a little bit, maybe not, both ways, whatever. So my point is, you can't control the economy. You can't control the economy of the world. However, what can you control? You can control the economy of your household. So again, you got to do everything you can do to protect and enhance your dollars. Well, again, getting back to this concept of the 2017 Jobs and Tax Cut Act. One of the other things to that, it decreased the stretch IRA, right? So again, see a tax advisor. I'm not a tax accountant for this, but used to be able to, you pass away, you can pass the money on from your IRA to your spouse, and that's still the same. They can use it as they wish for their lifetime. So what we're talking about is that after the spouse, this now passes on to the kids. Well, they used to be able to stretch it out over their lifetime, with a couple different examples. But today they have to cash out that money. The kids, the inheritors, inheritances.
I think you're right. Inheritors.
Inheritors, yeah.
Just call it that.
Well, if it's not, it's a new word I just created. There you go. Right, but what happens is they get this qualified money. Now they have to distribute all that out within 10 years. So again, if it's a large chunk of money, we're pulling it out faster. What does that mean for taxes?
It's going to be higher. I mean,
more taxes
absolutely.
to the government. So again, the concept is not making your kids rich when you die, but let's at least not make the government rich, right? I mean, let's at least enhance what's going to them. So the whole concept of life insurance is, again, we can take a portion of our estate, a small portion of our estate, put it into a life insurance contract, and now all of a sudden, when we pass away, that life insurance contract, in most cases, based on your estate, passes to the beneficiaries income tax free. So now we're taking taxable dollars and turning it into tax free dollars. So again, pretty cool concept. So again, a lot of usages for life insurance, and again, we're not talking about, spending another $1,000 a month out of your monthly expenses to pay for a life insurance contract. This is typically an estate planning move. We're pulling money off of an account annually. We can do it monthly, but a lot of times people will do it annually. And again, just grow that pot of tax-free money. One last little quick concept, and I think this is kind of interesting too. I teach a concept called tax-free retirement. And tax-free retirement concept is kind of a cool concept. Let's build some assets so we can have tax-free income come retirement time, right? So if you're already close to retirement, it's a little too late to create this type of a concept. We're looking at those kids that are 40 and 50, in those ranges. There's a very cool concept called tax-free retirement planning that we can do that actually enhances using a life insurance contract. So what we do is we take out a life insurance contract, and this is real quick and easy. We overfund that life insurance concept, so there's more money in the contract other than just paying for the life insurance itself. Mm-hmm. And then come retirement time, we actually are borrowing the money out of the policy. So in essence, this works wonderful. It borrows the money out. So in essence, the net result is I'm receiving tax-free income at retirement time because I'm borrowing out of the policy. So again, if it's done properly, it's a very cool concept. And again, I want you to get on my website, duckduckplan.com. Get on my website, and you can actually order the free book. I'll be happy to send you one complimentary. It's called Tax-Free Retirement, and it talks about this concept. Your children, if you're in the 60-plus range now, listening to this call, your kids and your grandkids need to learn about tax-free retirement. They need to learn about this stuff. They need my book, and I'm happy to send you one complimentary. And if you're in that 40-50 range, my goodness gracious, wake up. It's time to do some planning. But it's a very cool concept. So I've had some folks where I say, okay, listen, you've got plenty of money. You're not going to spend all your money. We need to give some money on to your kids and come up with some type of a strategy. We got the annuity strategy to enhance the death benefit. We got life insurance we could buy on you that the beneficiaries get the money tax-free. But there's kind of another concept is we can peel off some funds. We can put this into a life insurance tax-free concept for one of your children, right? And so now this account is building up a retirement income for them. Mm-hmm. So rather than peeling off the money and saying, here you go, or I die, here's $100,000, let's put some money into a retirement plan for them. And the cool thing about this situation, come retirement time for them, when they get to that age, they need multiple sources of income. Yeah. They need anything that's going to help them in taxation. And with that concept, one more extra caveat is if, God forbid, they pass away, we've got that life insurance policy on them that now is benefiting who?
Their children.
The grandkids.
That's right.
The grandkids. Their kids, which i.e. your grandkids. So my point is there's a lot of cool concepts. Today I just wanted to wake you up a little bit and say, hey, listen, if money's going to the kids, the church, the charity, the neighbor, your dog, right, wherever your assets are going, let's look at some ways to enhance that, to give more to the beneficiary, less to the court systems, attorneys, and taxation. We got to put our ducks in a row. We got to protect it. Get onto my website, duckduckplan.com. Education is the key. We can create some simple, easy concepts to get things, to make things happen, to get things done. And I tell people, listen, easy gets things done.
Love it, Scott. Thank you so much for your time.
Excellent. Have an awesome time, and I'll see you. On the flip flop.
soon, very soon.
There you go.
And of course, our last thank you will always go to you, the listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to The Scotty Show with Scott Leonardi. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Scott comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it really easy to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at Complete Solutions, this is Eric Johnson reminding you, it's time to get your ducks in a row.
Thank you for listening to The Scotty Show. Remember, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Live life like it's your job. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Complete Solutions, Inc. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice, tax advice, or legal advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.